we're going to go to our next guest, and we're going to be talking to Dr. Yao Asare and Andrea Blair. Dr. Yao Asare is a retired biotechnology executive, and Andrea Blair is a retired nurse. They met in the university in Nigeria, University of Ibadan. And this is a Ghanaian man who went to university in Ibadan, and she met a Guyanese woman who was also studying the university, and they got together to date. So we want to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot from the couple. They've been together over 30 years. They have 2 amazing kids.
Wow.
They're going to share the stories with culture dating and how they've been able to navigate it so well. And I'm fortunate to call this duo family too, because it's literally my uncle and my aunt.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I'm happy that they opted to come in here and share their story. I know there are certain conversations as I've not been able to ask you personally, but on Mind, Body, and Microphone, we are off limit. So I'm going to ask you those questions I've not been able to ask you one-on-one. And so I want to study, or you went to find love. Let us know, right? You're from Ghana, and you went to university, and then you met Andrea. We want to know how you guys met, how long you've been together, and how your relationship has been till now.
Okay, so my version of the story is that she came to Nigeria to find her African prince, and she found me. It was, I think it was on New Year Day 1983. There was a Ghanaian professor who was having a party, and he was, when I was in Form 1 in secondary school, he was in Upper 6. So he's like 7 years ahead of me in school. And we happened to be in the same university. He got his PhD at University of Ibadan when I was a freshman. So obviously with the Ghanaian respect, I didn't want to go to the party. And eventually I got my friend who convinced me to go, and I'm glad I did, because as I walked into the room, this woman was sitting right there. And I went and sat right next to her, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow.
January 1st, 1983. 40 years ago this year.
Wow, congratulations. That's good job.
Wow.
Something to look up forward to, because I know you're slowly getting to that marriage.
Yeah. For 40 years. Actually, I'll learn all the 40 years experience today. Thank you.
All right. So, and when you guys met, right? And maybe I can ask Andrea, how was you guys' initial impression of each other's cultural background?
Well, I don't really know anything about his cultural background, and I'm sure he can say the same thing about mine. He probably didn't know anything about my cultural background.
Right.
Yeah.
What was your first impression of him?
She found her African prince. Yeah.
No, it's that, yeah. This guy, I hadn't met any Ghanaians really before that, so it was interesting. I relatively recently come to Nigeria, and met, of course, some Nigerians, and I hadn't really met any Ghanaians, except one, older guy, which was a friend of mine. So I hadn't met any young Ghanaians at that time. So it's interesting. Get to talk.
Right.
Find out some things.
Right. Were there moments where there were like cultural clashes, where as a Ghanaian man, and I'm sure you know by now, and a lot of Africans, we are used to doing things a certain way, and I don't know much about the Guyanese culture and how things are done in Guyana, but were there any cultural clashes or any amusing misunderstanding that you guys may have had over the years that relates to your cultures?
I think I would say there were a lot of things that I didn't know.
Right.
Okay, so going to Nigeria was the first time I left Ghana. And I was just a little over 20 when I went to Nigeria. So I was pretty young and very naive. I remember Andrea asking me about if there were gay people in Ghana. And I looked at her and I said, there's nothing like that in Ghana. This kind of thing is Oyibo stuff. It's not in Ghana. So looking back, I was very wrong. But obviously, a lot of Ghanaians told their friends the same story I told my wife.
Which year did she ask you that question, if I may ask?
This was we met in 83, and she asked me that question shortly after we met.
It wasn't your wife at the time.
Yeah, she wasn't my wife. She wasn't even my girlfriend, actually.
So Andrea laughed.
Andrea laughed at me.
Again, I want to know, like, was there? So the reason I want to know the reason behind that question, because gay wasn't a thing in Ghana or even in our culture until like. So why that question? I'm just curious. Was there gay in Guyana, or were you reading someone, you found out that it was gay in Ghana and he wasn't aware about it, or you thought he was gay and you were kind of afraid to take the risk? I'm just curious to ask.
Okay, so here's a good way to answer that question. So, in Nigeria, and I think in Ghana too, men walk around holding hands all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And in Western or sub-Western countries, don't usually see men holding hands. You might see women holding hands, adult women or teenagers or whatever, but usually you don't see men holding hands. And so it may have been some discussion around that, seeing men holding hands and concluding that these guys are gay when, in Nigeria or Ghana, you wouldn't know if they are or not, because it's not abnormal, or at least then it wasn't abnormal for men to be holding each other's hands and walking just as friends. That observation of mine.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's how we started talking about it. And that's when he thought that there was nothing like that.
I made my famous statement that I have lived to regret. I'll never forget.
What statement was that?
He's literally.
I said there is no gay in Ghana.
Why did you have that mindset? Was it because of your upbringing?
At the
Well,
time.
I had never seen, in 1983, I hadn't seen anything. Even the word gay meant happy, right?
Right.
We are children, happy and gay, and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she has sharper mind than I do, because she remembers always asking the questions why we Ghanaians and Nigerians are always holding hands wherever we go, And then she asked that question a couple of times before she actually came up and said, "Are they gay?" And I said, "What's that?" And when she explained it to me, I came up with my famous statement. There's nothing like that.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing that part. I want to get more into that relationship part, the relationship that you guys have now.
Okay.
Are there any specific traditions or customs from each other's culture that you've incorporated, or over the years you incorporated in your relationship?
Well, there are, for me, before I met Andrea, my food was 100% Ghanaian. Maybe I'll eat a little bit of exotic food. I had grown up in a rural Ghana, ate fufu almost every day. Then I go to Nigeria and there's seven eba and amala and things that I didn't know. So my first year, I only ate rice. I just wouldn't dare to even try the food. And then when I met her, she practically forced me to try every different food that was there, you know. And I would try and find out, oh my God, I love this food. Why did I have to wait for a whole year? But it was just, you know, the Ghana Nigeria mindset. You know, if the Nigerians like it, it must not be good. That kind of thing. You know. From the time I started to eat Nigerian food, I ate nothing else. I would go in and eat pounded yam or eat amala. I mean, amala was my preferred. I would go into the buka and eat the street food with her, and you know, things that I didn't even do in Ghana, I was doing in Nigeria. I guess she was doing it, and if the Igbo woman is doing it, then I'm also going to do it.
Daddy, let's face this debate that has been going on for years, and I know you know where I'm going with this one.
Oh,
I know the
You
jollof.
know where I'm going. Yes. So please be honest with us, and be honest with my body and microphone. Ghana
Yeah.
jollof, Nigerian jollof.
You know, I ate
That's it.
Nigerian jollof 40 years ago. I left Nigeria in 1985. You know, and I've never eaten Nigerian jollof anymore. I've been to a couple of Nigerian restaurants. Unfortunately, they didn't have jollof. But I can tell you, Nigerian food is very good. So if their jollof is as good as their pounded yam or their amala, then the Ghana jollof, we have a long way to go.
Daddy, I like your response. You are very political. I like your response. Very, very political. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I like that.
Wait, before that, we want to know Aunt Andrea's taste
Yes,
because I know she
I want
also
to know
eats. So, want to
your
know,
taste as well.
Andrea, what do you think? Right? Ghana jollof or Nigerian jollof?
Which one did you have first?
You know, I am not going to be the one to settle this.
Hey, you were saying,
I love you. I love you. I love you already. I love you.
But my cooking was very bad. So if I ever cooked her Ghanaian jollof, she'll probably not eat it again.
wow. So talking about food, we're talking about Ghana jollof and Nigerian jollof here. But I want to know, what's your favorite dishes? You know, Andrea, what's your favorite Guyanese dish? And Aunt Andrea, what's your favorite Ghanaian dish?
My favorite Guyanese is curry and curried goat and roti.
Mm.
I will eat it any time of the day, at midnight, at 6 a.m. I love it.
And you,
Because he had a follow up.
No question. You had a follow-up question?
Ray, I was gonna ask you, do you know how to make it as well?
Oh yeah, I can make curried goat. Yeah.
Andrea, did Andrea taste it? Was it like, you know, after
Was
that?
it the same as? Yeah, I want to know.
Actually, she wasn't there. She wasn't. She had gone to Guyana for a month, and I was home with my son.
Okay.
This was COVID time
Okay.
when I got caught up in the US COVID. So I went to Costco, got me a big goat, and we had curried goats every day.
Oh wow. Wow.
Did you call for instructions, or you did it by yourself? Because you know sometimes
I did call for instructions how to start. Yeah. I did call for instructions, and I'm sure Elvis, you stopped by and had a bit of that, or I left the rest of it for you when I was leaving the US.
Maybe, you know me, wherever there's food, I always come. So I probably did that. And Aunt Andrea, what's your favorite Ghanaian dish? And
I think peanut butter soup.
oh,
Mm.
peanut butter
Yeah.
it's good. It's good actually.
It goes with
I think
anything with
Yeah.
rice, yam, mango, kenke,
Yeah.
plantain,
Mhm.
pounded yam, pounded
No.
anything.
Yep, everything. Everything. I like peanut butter too.
Good. That's
And,
My favorite.
and Aunt Andrea,
Mhm.
you were married to a Ghanaian man. What is it about the Ghanaian culture? What about the Ghanaian culture do you admire the most? Right, you've been together for over 30 years. What is part of the Ghanaian culture that excites you or you admire the most throughout your relationship with Yao?
Part of the Ghanaian culture that excites me. Um, let's see. I think one of the nicest things is the continuation of friendships developed in high school and carried on kind of for the rest of people's lives, it seems. I think that's very, very admirable and comes in very handy.
Right. So, you know, meaning that the keeping relationships that we
Yeah.
build from childhood all the way to yes, and that's true, right? That also communicates or talks about how Ghanaians are very friendly and engaging and caring folks too, because it will take all of that to be able to keep that communication among so many years until each other passes away, and it's been going on like that.
Yeah.
I am in like a group of folks that I went to like high school with,
Mhm.
college with, and even all the way back to like middle school. And some of them I don't
Yeah.
even remember them, but I'm part of that group when we chat. So
Yeah.
it's part of the Ghanaian culture, and I think Kwejo probably have similar experience as well.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I do. Yes, I do. I still reach out to
Yeah.
most of my high school, junior high mates back in Ghana,
Mhm.
and it's just a long-lasting relationship from Ghana to here, and it's amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're all right.
Yeah. That's very admirable.
Every time we go to our hometown for the weekend, I get a couple of my elementary school classmates together and we go have some beers.
Yeah.
We sit
That's
there and they really love it because that is their way of being connected with us. And, every time I'm in town, as soon as they hear I'm in town, they know we're going to go have beer. So it makes them happy. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money to buy them beer, even if there are 10 people, you know. But we sit down, we talk about the good old days. And Andrea is usually lost when we are there because the conversation 90% of the time is in trees.
speaking of tree, have you taught her how to speak the language? Has she tried to speak the language, or she just lost interest?
I will let her answer that.
Yeah. I don't speak the language.
Have you,
Okay.
I said, have you been told to?
I think she knows some words.
okay, like what?
What language? Let's ask her what her favorite
Okay,
phrases.
wait,
Oh boy.
What some of your favorite words that is very common that you hear every day. Give us, you know what? Make it easy. Give us two.
just two.
Just
What?
two. Some of your favorite words.
Favorite words.
Of
Yeah.
I
phrases.
mean, I understand some Chi, but I don't speak any of it.
I think she understands more than we think she does because when we have a conversation, she sits there and she will respond in English. The very question that's asked, she will answer us. So don't be fooled.
I want to get back to the relationship because married, once again, I'm highlighting African men because of our cultures and values. And especially married interculturally, there can be sometimes clashes, maybe not. As a man from Africa, most of us, are, like to be or are the man of the household, right? In your household and how you've run things over the period, what has contributed to a successful, relationship in terms of who runs the household or who does what and what kind of responsibilities both of you, have in that relationship, in your relationship?
You want to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So I will say, you know, we don't have specific things except when it comes to cooking. I'm a very bad cook. I grew up in a house where we had so many women. They let the women do all the cooking. And the first time I cooked, I was in the university. Andrea, on the other hand, is a very good cook. So I leave all the cooking to her. Anything that needs to be done, if I'm the first to get up, like when we get up on the weekend, sometimes at 5 a.m. to watch the first Premier League games, right? In California, 8-hour time difference. And so the game started sometimes at 5 a.m. And so I'll get up at 5 to go and watch the game. And while I'm watching the game, I will do the laundry. I'll finish everything before she gets up. So by the time she comes, all the laundry is done and things like that. And if she goes down first, she will do it. So we don't say it's your turn or it's my turn. When I'm down there and there's laundry to be done, I do it. So I did it most of the time just because I'm down there every Saturday morning and every Sunday morning. I will sit in my little couch from 5 a.m. until maybe noon because I watch every single game. The cooking, as I said, she does most of it. I'm very easygoing, you know. So I think I'm also very considerate. Everything I do, I want to make sure that I know how it's going to affect her. If I think it's going to affect her negatively, I avoid it or modify it in a way. You know. And so she lets me do my stuff. I let her do her stuff.
Okay. Sandra, any comments on that? Any opinion on that? And how you view how you guys have run your household?
I think what Yao said is pretty accurate. We kind of talk about certainly the big things and usually the small things as well, and then make decisions together. And I think that's been the key to longevity.
Good.
Wow.
So, Uncle Yao, I would like you to go back some decades. Just let's go back a little bit. I hope your memory will set you right. If you can give us some game, give us some game. Like, how did you approach her? Did you sweet talk her? How was it like? And also, the first date, were you nervous? Did you show any form of interest or dislike? Let's go back and look to your younger, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years old, how it was and how is it now compared to, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first day that I met her, she was at a party with her aunt, who was a professor at the university. She had done her master's at University of Cape Coast, but she was a teacher. So she came to Cape Coast to the Education University, and then she made a few Ghanaian friends, and she really liked Ghanaians. So I would say she was the one who actually encouraged me because the first day we met, she said to me, come home every Saturday for lunch. You know, so the path was very wide open for me. And so I would go there and we would have lunch. And then there were there were 3 professors who would come for lunch. So there would be 4 professors, and her aunt was a professor, and then 3 of her friends came, and the 2 of us were the young ones. So as soon as we finished, we just leave the adults alone, and we'll go find our little corner. So I had plenty of time to get her to see that I'm the prince he came to Africa to look for. And helped. And really up because he knew Ghanaians and she had been in the university with Ghanaians. So there were some Nigerian competition and she made sure she tilted it in my favor all the time.
That's beautiful. That's
Sorry, you didn't see it like that.
That's your version. That's your version, Uncle. Yeah, I want to hear her version as well. Auntie, please.
Yeah.
What's your version?
Okay.
Okay, well, what's the question? Well, the question
So
was,
I asked earlier on that let's go back down memory lane 20 years, 30 years ago when you met him, right? Was there anything that, like, you know how most men will try to sweet talk a woman just to get their attention, their interest, you know? So I wanted to know if he did such a thing. And also, like, on a first date, you know, mostly if a guy's interested in a woman, you ask the girl on a date, oh, let's go on a date to this place, whatever. So were you nervous? Was there interest? Was there dislike? You know, just let's go back a little, just go back a little bit, 20 years, and let's hear that story.
yeah, okay, let's see. So we just started out as friends. There wasn't any, you know, because I was seeing somebody else at the time. So
Let's go back. Let's go back. No, 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 no.
Wait, before you go, let me say something. Let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
This is in relation to a topic we were discussing. Why, you know, we don't think women should have male friends outside of relationships. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Oh, okay, let's go back.
Let's
Okay,
go.
so you have okay.
Back to another
Yeah, let's go
continue.
back, please. Mommy, continue. Wow.
so then, so then we talked, and he was, I was doing A levels or chemistry and all this stuff, and he was good at chemistry. So of course he was like, "Yeah, give you."
Oh man.
Free tutorials.
Oh man.
Free tutorials.
Let me show you how to do it. See, like that.
And then while doing that, he was hoping that your relationship will not survive and then he can come and overtake.
There you go.
So how did you leave that man for your African friend? Was he also Ghanaian or he was a different race?
He was a Nigerian guy.
Hint,
Ghana, Nigeria, always come.
hint.
Jollof again. Ghana Jollof and Jollof, right?
Right. The king selected. One learning point is be good at chemistry, people. Be good at chemistry.
Be good at it. Be good at chemistry. Wow, that's nice. That's nice. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, man.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see here. I have a few more questions. And those of you viewing, if you have any questions you want to ask the couple, let us know, because we are learning about how they've had a successful relationship over the years, especially two different people from two different countries being together and having family. I think one of the questions, I know that Uncle Yao, you're retired now, and Andrea, you're retired. You spent most of your career here in America, and then you've now relocated to Ghana, where you're staying right now. Now, my question is, how did you have the conversation on where you want to move to at the end of your career? Because she's from Guyana, right? And you are from Ghana. How was that conversation like? Because, you know, if she immigrated from Guyana, it's like, oh, I would probably want to go back to my country. And then you also want to go back to your country. How did you navigate and decide, okay, well, you know, we'll go live in Ghana, and how did that go for you guys? How did you decide? That's something I've always wondered.
Yeah, I think the way I remember it, when we got married in 1985, the plan was that we would come to live in Ghana before we got married. We had already planned to come and live in Ghana anyway. But Andrea's parents, as you know, they were already living in the US. And so the parents had, when did they go? In the 60s, in the late 60s, early 70s, early 70s. So they were pretty much US people. So when we came to the US, we still kept the going back to Ghana in mind. I thought we were going to be in the US for 5 years. The 5 years turned out to be 35. It turned out to be 35, but eventually we were determined to come. In fact, in 2006, Andrea spent almost a year in Ghana alone. She wanted to see if she could survive in Ghana by herself without any help from me. So she came to Ghana and was here through the Ghana at 50 celebration. She actually was there for 8 months. She got her license to practice nursing in Ghana and all of those things that she needed to do. So after 8 months, she came back and said, yeah, I think I can live in Ghana. Then it took us another 20 years to eventually make it. But, you know, it was in the plans all along from the moment we met. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But something isn't different from that. Okay.
All right. My follow-up question is, did you guys have any challenges or stereotypes from others due to your intercultural relationship when you guys first got together?
Well, in Nigeria, I was in Nigeria at the time when it wasn't fashionable to be Ghanaian. Remember, in the 80s, Nigeria was doing very well and Ghana was doing so badly that every Ghanaian went to Nigeria to find a job. And so the Ghanaians who lived outside the university community were always in conflict with Nigerians. If anything went wrong, it was the Ghanaians who did it. You know, if something was missing, the Ghanaians must have stolen it. That sentiment got to a point where the government actually in 1983 deported all the Ghanaians to go back to Ghana. But because I was in the university and the university regularized our stay, we had a work, residence permit and everything. So we were not affected. So it was a good thing. I was dating a woman in the university who was not Nigerian because some of the people who were dating Nigerians had problems. In fact, one of my friends had a Yoruba girlfriend and her parents came to campus and practically almost ran the guy out of campus. That was how bad relationship between Ghana and Nigeria was at the time. That relationship gets between Ghana and Nigeria, we always remember we are brothers and we solve it. You know, some of my best friends are from Nigeria. I haven't been back to Nigeria since I moved to Ghana 4 years ago, but I intend to do that sometime this year or next year.
African men having 5 different wives.
That one is part of the culture. We'll get into that. It's part of the culture.
So there was, are you certain that he doesn't have a wife at home? You gotta, make sure that there's not a wife at home. So
they actually went to my hometown to check.
We did?
Wow.
Yeah, that's that Ghanaian professor.
Wow. Oh, we did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We went to check.
Wow. And you're against that because it's polygamy is common in Ghana, right? And so, would you have said no if Andrea was polygamous or had many maybe? I mean, I want to give viewers a little background, right? My great grandfather, I would say, were with multiple women and gave birth to multiple kids, and we have so many aunts and aunties all over the place, right? In the traditional Ghanaian setting, that in certain villages, that is still acceptable, even though more recently than ever, and the influence of foreign culture and people, women rights, men rights, all over the place, that is limited to just only nuclear families. So my question is, if Uncle Yao moved from Ghana and he was, culturally he's allowed to, as long as he can take care of them and they're happy, he had those options. Would you have still gotten to him, or you are like, no, it has to be me and one person?
Absolutely not. Would not have happened at all.
No.
Would not have happened.
You would have missed your African friends though.
Would not have happened.
But the fake one.
A fake one, right? A fake one from where? Nigeria or what?
Nigeria from where?
Most likely.
Would not have happened at all. No. No.
Okay. I was just curious on that. Wanted to touch on it, and really want to thank you for taking time. My final question is that I have is, do you have any advice for couples considering intercultural relationships? Today there are some Africans, they want to, maybe from West Africa, they want to try to date someone from East Africa and vice versa, right? There's, my friend earlier, Robert and Meg is white and Asian together. There are people who are just known to just staying within their culture and not venturing out. For those people who are like, I'm wondering how it's going to be like, I'm scared to go into that. What would be advice for couples or people considering to get into intercultural, interracial, biracial relationships?
I think that it all boils down to having respect for each other. If you try to look down on anybody's culture, that is a recipe for disaster. So, no, even if it doesn't make sense to you, try to understand and find a way around it. Being respectful of people's space and people's beliefs and traditions is very, very important. So for me, the people from the Caribbean in Ghana, when they were in England, they used to call them Ahidim for, will ever refer to my wife as Ahidim, like sugarcane people or Kacha and things like that. So you have to be respectful, right? And then when it comes to their food, the first time they gave me curried goat, I ate it. I mean, I was so excited. It looked just like, soup to me. It looked like peanut butter soup, except it wasn't as thick. I ate it and asked for more, So in terms of food, I didn't have any problem. I think my early experience in Nigeria, where I stayed away and ate rice every day because I didn't want to eat pounded yam or anything, that experience taught me that you have to at least try the food until you eat it and you don't like it. You can't just condemn it because you've never seen it or you've never eaten it, you've never seen anybody else eat it before. That's something that a lot of us in Ghana, we do. In fact, in our house here, whenever we have people come in and Andrea cooks something, people will say, I don't know how to eat it. And she cracks up whenever they say that. I explained to her what they mean is, I've never eaten it before.
Yes.
It's not like I don't really know how to eat it.
Right.
So once you at least make an attempt and decide, because there are Guyanese who don't like curry goat, so you won't be the first person to try it and say I don't like it.
Right.
And I don't think anybody would be offended if you didn't like it. Similarly, when we go home, especially when my grandmother and my mother were alive, they ate fufu every day. Every evening, dinner was fufu. So, fortunately, Andrea ate fufu the first time and loved it, and she ate it every day. But at least for her, making an attempt to eat it made her very acceptable to both my grandmother and my mother.
Yeah, for me, I think that if you are getting into a relationship, where you're culturally different, besides having respect, which is absolutely necessary. You need to find out some about the culture. You need to and see, whether there are things that you might not want to deal with.
Yeah. And I will add that for me, about when I realized after Andrea and I had been dating for a year, I decided to tell my parents about her. So I told my mom and my grandmother, because my father died when I was very little. I was raised by my mom and my grandma. So I sat them down and told them about Andrea, and they said, "Oh, are you marrying a white woman?" I said, "No, she's not white, but she's American." They said, "How come she's American and she's not white?" I had to explain slavery and everything to them, and that even brought a different story. "Oh, you're going to marry a slave?" They didn't understand. But because after I explained the whole history of African Americans and how people got to different places to them, my grandmother was the very first person who asked Andrea if she was going to marry me before I even asked her.
That's really
Yeah.
that's really interesting. I know it's pretty late in Ghana right now, and you guys stood out to be on this. So we really, really appreciate you joining us and sharing your experience with us on Mind, Body, and Microphone. And people, if you notice or if you know, this is Uncle Yal's first Instagram live session.
Well,
He just downloaded the
first
app.
Instagram, I created the account only yesterday.
Right. He just created the account to be able to be on this and share his story with us. So I really, really appreciate Andrea and Uncle Yao. Want to say thank you for being on
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.
You're
It's late in Ghana.
welcome. Very welcome.
And you guys have a good night.
All right.
Oh, all right, Kwejo.
Man,
What do you think?
man,
What do you think
it's
so far?
so far, man, it's been amazing, man. The stories, the experiences is just from Bobby, man, to Uncle Yao and Auntie Andrea. It just shows you that love is everywhere. Like, let's be real, love is everywhere. There's understanding, there is open-mindedness, there is the fact that they're willing to accept each other's culture and be respectful. There's so many underlying themes that I've learned so much from white Asian and then even like Africans, and then like just like respectful, acceptance, open-mindedness, communication, and just just amazing. Even if they had challenges,
Right now,
they still
I
made it
know
work. So
you're
to
planning
make
on hopefully tying the knot
yeah,
soon, right? And there's
yeah,
one thing I want to highlight here. He said,
yeah,
as an African man,
yeah,
he was doing the laundry every
yeah,
time he went to watch the game.
yeah.
He did the laundry every time, most of the time. They didn't have necessarily
Get
gender roles.
in the roles, correct.
He
Yeah,
saw it first, and then he started doing it. He started it, and so it's more like if he sees something wrong, he goes ahead to
correct,
fix it, even though
correct.
the wife might be the one who's supposed to do that,
Yes.
and the same and vice versa. And I think that's an interesting
Yeah, it is.
thing, right?
It
Sometimes
is.
the gender roles gets us blinded
Yeah,
because he or she's supposed to do this. I don't want to do it.
yeah,
She should come and do it. I'm tired
yeah.
already.
Right. I believe that we are made together to make the home a better place, both of us. Right. So if it's me washing the dishes, if it's me, chopping the vegetables, if it's me cleaning, at the end of the day, it's our home,
Right.
and anyone comes home or comes to the house, whatever the case it just shows a representation of how we treat our home. Is it clean? Nobody cares whether the wife cooked or the husband did the dishes. Nobody cares. At the end of the day, you both have to put the work in and make sure the home is the home that you want to see or people want to see. So I don't really, personally, if my fiance is cooking, I'm right there. I'm cutting it. I'm there. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't need to go watch soccer. I need to be there, be present, helping out, do what I gotta do, and then yeah, we enjoy together. So for me, I don't really co-sign gender roles. Honestly speaking, like, I don't really co-sign. Just make sure the home is done properly. That's it.
That's totally fair. I think that's a good way to look at it, right? Helping your partners out. I think, because it's both of you, it's unity,
Yeah.
right? Both of you supporting each other in
Yeah.
the capacities you guys are most comfortable in.
Yeah.
But with that being said, right, Kojo, you know what I'm excited for next? I'm excited for what we are going to be talking about next week, Kojo.
I'm
We are
ready.
talking about passport bros.
I'm
We
ready.
are going to be talking
I'm ready.
about
I'm ready.
traveling to third
I'm
world
ready.
country, traveling to Africa,
Ah.
traveling to Thailand, traveling to Colombia, traveling to Dominican Republic, traveling to Brazil and all
Wow.
this part of the
Wow.
world to find brides. Why is there? Why are they doing that? What's happening to the American girls? Or even Africans immigrating to America, and there are a lot of Africans here, but they don't end up dating them. They go back home to find their partners. Why is that? Why do we feel the need, or why are we traveling to different parts? And the passport bros conversation is going to be starting with the fellas who are going to share their opinion.
Right.
And then the following week, the girl dams will also share their opinion. The girls will share their opinion. The following week, right, with the girls sharing the opinion, I'm going to bring real couples that have done that.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
That have done that and have succeeded to talk about it.
Wow.
And the girl dams that I'll be talking, I have speakers who will be calling us from the Dominican Republic, joining us from Dubai, people joining us from Brazil, people joining us from Italy. To share their thoughts on this. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. So you don't want to miss.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I
can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait, man.
We're on next week. We're starting that conversation. Why? What's going on in America? What's happening to the dating scene? With that being said, people, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Kwejo, for joining. I hope we see you next week.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for our viewers. You can follow us, Mind Body Microphone. Have a good afternoon.